Alright everybody, welcome to another video. And today I'm gonna do a semi-initial review of the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. Okay, I know that I was gonna wait a couple of months, maybe longer, carry it around and get some use out of it before I review this knife. But I just can't wait. I have to tell you guys stuff about this knife that you need to know right away. And I will do a later video reviewing it with after some use of it. Okay, so, but anyway, here's the review. All right, first of all, this knife comes straight out of the box, razor sharp. Okay, it is the only knife that I have ever owned where it came straight out of the box and shaved hair off your arm. Okay, literally shaves hair off of your arm. Okay, so this is razor sharp right out of the box. Okay, first knife that I have ever had that done that. All right, so I have absolutely no complaints about the blade geometry, the blade shape, the sharpness, the look, the design, the blade. 10 out of 10. Okay, absolutely flawless in my opinion. The only complaint I have is that it's very dangerous to play with. I mean, you can literally cut yourself, stab yourself with this knife if you're not careful. I have this little cloth laying on top of my sofa because I know that while doing this video, I could possibly drop it by its point and put a hole in my sofa. That's how pointy, stabby, and slicey and cutty this knife blade is. So I have absolutely zero complaints about this blade. Now, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. This is the CVV Elementum made in China. Okay, very popular knife. It's in the S35VN steel. This knife, straight out of the box, was never razor sharp. It felt sharp, it felt pointy, it felt stabby, but guess what? I never got this blade sharp enough to shave hair off of my arm. Never. I mean, I have done almost everything that I could possibly think of. Sharpening stones, stropping, honing stones, and I mean, as a last straw, I even took a Dremel tool to try to make this thing sharper. And at the end of the day, yes, it's sharper. It cuts paper, but it's still not razor sharp. It still won't shave hair. So anyway, this knife will get the job done. You put enough pressure and enough leverage and you know, you use the knife properly, hold it properly, and use the right cutting techniques. It'll cut almost anything you want it to cut. Okay, but I have never feared this knife ever accidentally stabbing me, cutting me, or whatever, because it's not that sharp. It's not that sharp. This one here, I'm going to go into the complaint part about this knife in a minute, but I literally was playing with this while I was driving, and I thought it was okay because I play with this knife when I first got it while I was driving all the time, flipping it, holding it in my hand, you know, driving around, you know, whatever, you know, just like a fidget toy, you know, playing around with it, you know, and never once ever cut myself, or even when I dropped it, even while I was driving and dropped it on my leg, on the floorboard, on the seat, never cut anything, stabbed anything by accident. Okay, this sucker here, okay, I made the mistake of trying to spidey flick it while I was driving, and what happened was it opened up just enough, and then it closed back up, and it closed on one of my thumb right here. This finger right here, it closed on my nail, and boy, that hurt. But it closed kind of like, it didn't snap really hard. It just kind of landed on the fingernail. So I was like trying to get that. I was kind of like trying to drive and get this blade off of my fingernail, and all of a sudden it slipped away. I got my fingernail out of the way, but then the knife slipped out of my hand, and it landed on my pants leg like this. Boom. And it actually cut through the pants. It cut through the pants. It stabbed through the pants. It put a hole in my pants. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't play with this knife. And the reason, I had such difficulty with this knife while I was driving. You shouldn't be playing with knives while you're driving, by the way, but, this is just an example. This, as nice as this blade is, it is about the worst action, open and close action a knife can possibly get. Okay? This action is horrible. The opening and shutting of this blade is just painful. Okay? I mean, it just feels like a knife that's been found in the ocean, laying in the bottom of the ocean for weeks or months, and you get it out of the water and you're trying to open it up, and it's like all grindy and rough and hard. Now, this is the second knife. This is the second. I've returned the first one that I got, and I returned it, and then sure enough, and I returned it because the open and close action was horrible. Just really hard to open, gritty, grindy, and I returned that one, got this one, and it felt smoother. And then all of a sudden, at times, it just has that really grindy, rough, don't want to open kind of feel to it. And it's not a knife that you want to play with. It's not a knife that you want to fidget with, because you will wind up hurting yourself, cutting yourself, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so this is a knife that you carry around like a traditional folder. You might want to use two hands to open, and if you do open it with one hand, you don't want to play tricks with it, or you don't want to be fancy with it. Just open it and get your job done. Okay, treat this knife with respect, because this is not a fidget toy. This is a very nice, very sharp blade on a very cheap scale body, very cheap, and the lockback appears to be pretty sturdy and strong. The fit and finish looks good, but at the same time, this design here of this FRN scales in contact with the blade, the blade itself, without any kind of liner or any kind of washer or ball bearings or anything like that, it just gives this knife a really, really unrefined, really cheap, hard to open feel to the knife. And that is the one major drawback. And the fact is, at the end of the day, you want a knife that you don't mind taking out, not to just play with, but to use. Okay? So if you're thinking, okay, oh man, you come across something that you need to cut or do something to with a knife, and then you're like, do I really need to pull this out? Because can I just open the package with my hands? Because it's more hassle to get this blade out of the handle, and why not? Whereas to, like, if you're opening a bag of potato chips, you may want to say, okay, let me get this out real quick and flip this open and cut the bag of chip open. And whereas to this one here, you say, I could open a bag of chips with my hands. I don't need a knife. And you open it because it's a little bit of hassle to pull this out and try to open this one hand and get the work done quick, But at the end of if you don't mind a little effort to get your blade out, this is the blade. This is the knife that you want to get to work on anything. It's very sharp, very sharp. Made in the USA, made in China. Okay, so even though this comes with the better steel, S35VN, this is the S30V, and most people will argue that they prefer the S30V over the S35VN, but technically the S35VN is supposed to be the latest version and the better steel. But this knife here comes with the G10 scales. This one's the FRN scales. Comparable steel. Okay. Steel lining. Overall, material-wise, this has better materials and everything. And this is cheaply designed. Far as in the action and everything, it's cheaper material. But when it comes to the actual blade performance, Spyderco wins it hands down. All right. So, you get better performance, but cheaper materials, and the action is just horrible. I know this is a lockback knife and everything, and it's not a flipper and this and that, but my Buck 110 is not particularly a good knife, but it has a smoother opening. It has a smoother pull to it. It opens smoothly. It doesn't grind. It doesn't feel rough to get it open. This one does. This is just painful to open, in my opinion. But anyway, now let's go into this China versus USA made. All right, and for all you knife collectors who are into collecting knives, if you're a knife collector, you're gonna collect knives from all over the world, even from Pakistan. And everybody knows Pakistan generally makes crappy knives. And if you're a knife collector, you're going to collect junk all the way up to the best there is, right? So when you do that, you're going to be collecting some Chinese-made stuff, USA-made stuff, knives made from all over the world. So that's that. That's if you're a collector, right? But if you're like trying to buy a knife just for personal use, you're not a knife collector, you want something that's very performance oriented, okay? Something that is going to do the job, something that you're not going to be disappointed in when you go to use it. Like this knife here, I love the way it looks, I love the way it feels, I love the way it carries. The action is awesome, love it. But the thing is every time I go to use it, it's a hit and miss. Sometimes I'm kind of impressed with it. It'll cut whatever I'm trying to cut. Other times when I'm cutting something, it just feels like, oh, crap. Do I need to sharpen this or what? And I don't know. It's never really thoroughly impressed me, the performance of this. This, however, the blade performance is just exceptional. I just can't tell you enough. I love the ergonomics, it's the way it feels in my hand. The way it's like a laser. It's like a lightsaber. You just touch certain things and it just cuts it. You just poke something and it just stabs right through. And whew, I'm telling you, this is the blade right here. But unfortunately, the drawback of a USA-made knife is you're going to compromise a lot. If you get really good performance, you're going to get sometimes really crappy materials, crappy build, or crappy action. And this knife here, they put a very good blade on a very cheap knife. I hate to say that. This FRN scale, if you're going to use FRN scales, they need to do a little bit better. They need to put some kind of washer, ball bearing system, or some kind of liner, steel liner, or something that makes this blade come out a little smoother, easier, less effort, you know. And just plastic, this cheap plastic, you know, I'm gonna call it out. I mean, it's thick and it's sturdy, but it feels cheap. And to put plastic right up against the actual blade, no, and this tiny little bolt or screw holding everything together. Does that say $120 or $130 or $140? No. No way. No way. Way overpriced. Blade worth every penny, but then they put it on this. The design of the handle is awesome. Ergonomics, excellent, but FRN scale right up against the blade. Gritty opening, hard to open. Action is slow. Takes too much effort. I know there's many of you that can say that you can loosen it up, spray something in there. It'll make the action smoother and all this net, but no. I mean, it's just like, you know, you pay over $100 for a pocket knife. You want everything to be quality, everything to work smoothly. And I have to say, that is my major disappointment with this knife is the Native 5 lightweight in the FRN scale. I hate the action. Action, open and close action, I give it a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. Horrible. This is something you would expect from a flea market knife, this action. You know, it snaps shut pretty solid. You know, the snap is quality, but the thing is when you go to open it for that snap, it just feels horrible, just terrible. But once it's open, that's it. This is the knife you want in your hand when you're getting stuff done. However, this one here, yes, it's easier to pull out and boom, deploy. And ergonomics is not too bad, not as good as this. But at the same time, when you go to use the blade, it's a hit and miss. Sometimes it's cutting really nice, it's slicing real nice. Then other times when you go to cut something simple, like a bag of chips even, it doesn't cut straight, it doesn't cut clean sometimes, and it just, I don't know. And it was like that since brand new. It was before I even messed with the edge, you know, it was doing that. So, made in China. And you got to understand, folks, just because you have expensive steel or materials, remember now, it's all about the heat treat. Okay, Spyderco, they are known for their heat treat and finish on their blades. Even when you don't like the particular geometry of their blades, they come sharp. This one came razor sharp. You know, I'm not even gonna mess with this edge. I'll let it get dull. When it gets dull, it gets dull, and then I'll just drop it. But I will never sharpen this on my own because I don't want to ruin what the factory did. You know. So this one here, this is it right here. You know. So, yeah, The China made is less expensive and they give you better materials, but at the same time, they don't give you necessarily the better performance. Like I said, just because they say this is a S35VN steel doesn't mean that it's made right. Geometry of the blade, the factory sharpness, all that was disappointing. But I mean, for I don't know, 69, I think, like close to 79, somewhere between $69 and $79. I forget. After taxes, I know, and delivery, I know I paid close to $95 for this knife. And this one here, 120, and I buy this all day. I buy this over this, because of the blade. That blade performance is just, whew, I don't know what to tell you. So if you're into playing with your knives and fidgeting with them and flipping them open and this and that, playing tricks with them and stuff, this is not the knife to have. But if you're carrying this around like you would carry around a box cutter or utility tool of some sort on your belt, and you need a very sharp knife to get something done, this is the knife to carry. This is the knife to have. And if you want to be fancy and show off if you want to just play with a knife and show it off and impress people, you might want to carry this one. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you really need to get some serious work done with a very sharp knife, this is the one to carry. And I hate to say this, but